Hey, welcome back, podcast friends, for another episode on weight loss. And on this one, this episode, it's having confidence that you can lose weight because what we're finding is there's a lot of people who have a lot of weight to lose and they've been really hard on their bodies for years and decades. And then all of a sudden they start into a healthy program, a healthy weight loss program, and they just want to see results immediately. And it doesn't work that way. Now, granted, when you change from eating man-made food over to God-made food, you will see results pretty quickly. I mean, depending on how badly you are, there are people who've been on diabetic medications for 20, 30 years. And once they change their eating habits within a month, they're totally off all their diabetic meds. So it can happen quickly, but if you have a lot to weight to lose, it may not. So one thing you don't want to do is just sit there and focus right on your weight. This is when you need to get confidence, knowing that what you're doing is right. And that's what we want you to do. We want you to lose weight with confidence. And this never really crossed our mind until we were watching something with Layla Hermosi. I don't know if you know who Layla Hermosi is.
Right.
But
She's married to Alex Hermosi, and they help other businesses grow their businesses. But they also do in a lot of their videos that I find on YouTube and all social media is, they talk about leadership and then personal growth, a lot of it. So I kind of got wrapped up in several of her videos last week, and she was talking about confidence, and it was just hitting home so much that I thought, I mean, this is what you guys need to hear. This is what we need to hear. I mean,
right.
you need to keep hearing these things over and over because confidence takes time. And, a big thing that we see, like Steve was saying, is they're losing weight. People are losing weight to begin with, and then they stall, and then they lose their confidence, and then they are talking bad to themselves. And
And just
that's
revert back to their old ways
right. And
again.
that's totally against being confident. So that's why I just think this is going to help so much with your weight loss journey or it doesn't even have to be weight loss. It can be anything that you need to do, build your confidence. And these are tiny little steps that she talks about.
And really what she talks about, what we talk about, what we hear all the time is being able to control your thoughts. You have to remember that just because you're thinking thoughts doesn't mean that those thoughts are correct. And you'll know if those thoughts are correct or not, depending on where you are. What results have you gotten from those thoughts? Because as we say all the time, your thoughts control your actions or your feelings control your actions, and your actions control your results. Okay, so you've got to control your thoughts, and this is one way you can actually build your confidence by controlling your brain, knowing how your brain works. And there was a book that came out several years ago called The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. And this was a great book, and it showed everybody, how that you can control your thoughts and feelings and how you can actually manifest things that you want. But the problem with that book is it left out the major step. You can't just think about it, feel it, want it. You need to do some kind of an action towards it because it's doing the action towards it that's going to start building confidence. If you just sit around and you just think, oh, I want this, it's not going to happen. That's not how things happen. You have to actually make actions towards that. And so whenever you're going through a weight loss program, like what the course that we have for people, that's one thing we're going to do is have you actually start making some actionable steps so you can look back and you can track your course, because that's how the brain works. The brain likes to predict what's going to happen. And this is a survival part of our brains, because in the past, people weren't looking for all these goals and success. In the past, centuries ago, success was surviving. That's how you know you're successful, because you're still alive. So we still have that same brain. So if we haven't done anything, our brains just automatically make us think that it's going to be bad. We have to fear it's going to be bad, because that's how our brains protect ourselves. And the only way that we can change that is start doing some actions towards that and tracking those actions. And then we can say, oh, wait, I did this action. It did fine. I'm actually better now. And now you've gained confidence with your brain. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about through this podcast.
Right. And just because you do something once, say like you're always going to, like from now on, I'm going to always try to do something either go for a walk or do a body weight. So what's that called? Weightlifting or
Resistance
weightlifting,
training. Yeah.
resistance training. I'm going to do something 3 or 4 times a week. And maybe you have even put down Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, that type of thing. And you did it one week. And so now you've got a little bit of confidence going. But if you don't do it the next week, well, now you're going to be nipping away at your confidence but it's because it's something you always have to, you just have to keep working at it and keep working at it. And then it just becomes more habitual, which is
Right.
what you want.
Right. And tracking it, when you track it over time, you'll realize that you're actually living life. There will be times that you do not do what you want to do. But when you don't track it, when you have those times that you don't do what you want to do, your brain automatically kicks in and say, see, you can't do this. You shouldn't be doing this. This isn't right. But if you track it every day, whether you did it or whether you didn't, track it. So when you look back over a week or over a month, now you have confidence like, well, look, here, I thought that I wasn't doing it, but I did it 75% of the time. I did what I wanted to do. And that lets your brain know, oh, that means I can do this. You would not know that if you didn't track. That's one thing that we have in our digital course that we have. That's one thing that we definitely have you do. We have you track exactly what you eat, plan what you're going to eat the next week, plan what you're going to eat the next day, and track what you've done, because you have to track it in order to be able to watch it and to give yourself confidence saying, oh, look at this, I can do it. So when you're eating, if you're going to start on a nutrition program, one of the first things we highly recommend is for 1 week, don't do anything but write down every single thing you put in your mouth. Write down every single thing you put in your mouth, how much you put in your mouth, what time you did this, and what were you feeling at the time? What were you thinking? Were you really hungry? Were you bored? Were you scared? Were you upset? Whatever. Write that down, track it, and at the end of a week, look back to each day and say, oh, I remember doing that. Oh, and this is why. And then when you find that, what I also recommend you doing, seriously, is as you do this, you might want to put a price next to every single thing that you're eating also. Because when people start changing eating healthy, what they find is they don't eat anywhere near as often throughout the day. So instead of snacking and buying all these box, bottle, bag, and cans and soda pops and all this and munching all through the day on your whatever, your coffees in the morning, you find that you spend a lot of money on food that has no nutritive value at all. All you're doing is putting something in your stomach. Then you can take that money, switch it over to things that actually nourish your body, and now you can actually start feeling cleaner. But again, you have to track this. So for 1 week, try it. Maybe you'll try that. Just track every single thing that you eat, right? Have a little notebook that you keep with you. Write down what you ate, what time you ate it, how much it cost, and what were you feeling at the time. Did that help satisfy a craving or did it not? So,
Right. And that's another thing with while you're tracking, you want to keep tracking, even though, let's say you even had 2 bad weeks, just keep on tracking, keep on looking, and you're going to look back. And even if you look back over a year, because we know how fast a year goes by, and then you can see a gradual increase, this line that gradually goes up. I'm sure you've seen success isn't from down here at the bottom straight to the top or diagonally straight to the top. It's always up and down, but gradually this upward motion if you stay consistent. And that's one of the things is fear. People have this fear that they won't succeed. They're going to lose. They're going to mess up like they always do. And that's
right.
when the tracking comes back in. It's like, no, just keep on trying, and that's what I'm trying to do for myself this year is I want to work towards a year of exercising and making sure I'm walking, doing some sort of weightlifting, something like that, and really focus on it. Because I know, because we work so much, or we talk so much about food and what we should be eating, and we're kind of nailed it. I mean, we're pretty good on, I'm not having to work harder to talk myself into cooking at home instead of going through the drive-through, which is a lot of the struggle that you're going to come across. So kind of got that nailed in, but the exercising, I've been pretty good about talking myself out of it. So that is just the one thing I'm really trying to focus on for a year. I don't want to focus on it for just a week. That doesn't matter, or just a month, or even 6 months. It just takes time. And if you know that this is just what I want to do always. And so me keeping track of this is something because I have certain, I same thing as everybody else. I have weeks that aren't as good, days that aren't as good, and you don't do what you said you were going to do. But if you keep looking back, it's like, oh, that week wasn't that bad. I did get in 3 days that I worked out versus, well, I didn't work out for 4, which is what our brain wants us to do, is wants us to really focus on
Right.
those 4 days that we did not work out.
Right. Focus on the negative. It's very easy to
Mhm.
focus on the negative. And now, especially nowadays, I mean, the news media and everything, they want you focused on the negative. They want you scared. They want you afraid, because once you're afraid, now they can sway you into thinking anything they want you to think. So the goal of this is to realize how to control your own thoughts so you don't get scared and you just keep on track. Because just like the common thing says, it doesn't matter how many times you fall, it's how many times you get back up. And it's so, so true. And the one thing that's going to help you doing that is data. Your brain likes data. It likes to know that it's doing the right thing. If you give it no data, all it has is your past thoughts. It's going to automatically think that anything that makes you want to get out of your comfort zone is a bad thing, a dangerous thing. You shouldn't do it. That's what your brain for survival is telling you. So collect your data, and that data will override those emotions. That's the only thing. If your brain starts saying, "Oh no, you can't work out. You're not going to do this. You're not going to eat right," and then you look back over the data that you collected over the last week or the last month, you're like, "Oh no, I ate right, or I worked out." Like I said, 75% of the time. Now you've got that data. It's like, oh, if I did it 75% of the time, I bet I could do it 80% of the time. Now you've got a different thing. Now your brain says, oh, wait a minute. You can do this because you have done this and you've proved to yourself that you've done this. So let's see what else you can do. And that's what we want you to do. We want you, and when you start doing this, we'll talk about this, just little bitty things, just getting your brain going in the right direction is what you want to do. But the evidence of the data is so much more overpowering than your emotions. If you allow that to happen, if you allow your thoughts to actually start making you feel good about what you're actually doing.
And I think it's another thing that we like to do is like, oh, I'm going to start this program, and we feel like we have to do it perfectly.
Mhm.
And then we don't do it perfectly after 2 weeks. Well, then obviously we can't do this because our confidence is low. And that's back to this data that he's talking about. It's like that is what builds up our confidence. And you want to look back at it to see the confidence, because I have tried to do things perfectly and not succeeded because I beat myself up because I couldn't do it perfectly.
Right, right. And without a doubt, no one is perfect. And we sit here and do these podcasts all the time, and we still struggle with this stuff also. You are not alone. But without a doubt, once you start making headway, it is easier and easier to do. And that's why it's so important. If you have any big thing to do, say you need to lose 200 pounds, okay? Know that that is your goal. Know why you want to lose 200 pounds. Why do you want to do that? Why do you really, really seriously want to do that? And write that down. We've talked about that in past podcasts. Knowing your why is so important. But then what people do is now they take off this big chunk and they make this huge, massive goal. By gosh, okay, I'm going to lose 100 pounds in the first 6 months and 100 in the last 6 months. And then you start working at it, and the weight comes off, and then the weight comes on, and then the weight comes off, and the weight comes on, and you get so frustrated. Then you quit. And now the next year, you're even heavier than what you were this year. That is what everybody does, and that's what we do not want you to do. Take those big, lofty goals and chunk those down into little bitty, bite-sized daily things that you can do. Anytime anybody, and Teresa's mentioned this in the past too, anybody that you know that owns their own business, you ask them if they would do it, if they knew everything that it took to make that, own that business, would they do it again? And most of the time, everybody says no. It was so hard to do that if they knew all the things that were hard to do, they would never have done it. However, since they didn't focus on that and they just focused on their daily things they needed to do, now they got done. They're extremely happy with their business. They're so glad that they did that, and they didn't talk themselves out of it. And that's what we want you to do. Know what your final goal is, and then cut that down. How can you knock that down to a daily task? And that's all you have to focus on is, what do I need to do today? Today, I am not going to put anything unhealthy in my mouth. Today, I'm not going to eat anything in a box, bottle, bag, or can. Today, I'm only going to eat God-made food. Today, I'm going to walk. I'm going to try to get in 2,500 steps or 4,500 steps or whatever you're trying to do. Know what you're going to do and actually set a plan to do it. Track whether you did it or not. But if you don't do it, don't beat yourself up. Just say, I tried. I'll do it again tomorrow. And you've got to keep that thought in your head. Nobody's perfect. I'll do it tomorrow. But then do it tomorrow, because the longer you let those steps go off, the more your brain's going to say, see, I knew you couldn't do it. I knew you couldn't do this lofty goal that you want. And you don't want to do that, because your brain will do that. But you want to do the opposite. Oh my gosh, look at this. I didn't think I could do it, but look what I did. Look where I was last month. Look how much I weighed last month. Look at the medications I was on last month. And now I'm not on that. That's the kind of stuff that keeps you going. So just focus on the daily little things. Whatever you have to do to chunk a great big lofty goal into little bitty bite-sized pieces, that's what you want to do.
And an example of something really small would be to go for a walk. Now, if you sit all day at a computer and then you go home, you're at work, and then you go home, you watch TV at night, you don't walk. Well, you don't want to go walk for an hour. I mean, that's going to be very discouraging. You may do it for 3 or 4 days, and then you're tired, you don't have the energy, and it's taking so much of your time because you're not used to it. So go walk for 10 minutes.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And then you do it again the next day. And then you do it again the next day.
And track it the whole time.
Exactly. And then you can just slowly increase. And before you know it, you would be up to an hour. And it wouldn't feel like this huge chunk of time taken out of your day. You would have worked yourself up to walking for an hour. Or you don't have to walk for an hour, but you see what we're saying. It's like, just take very small little steps, little bitty goals. I mean, we've read books, and even Layla talks about this in the video of, making your bed every day. Mm-hmm. Just make your bed every day for a week, and that's all you have to do. And if you can make it, because there are people that don't make their bed. I never used to. I do now, but I didn't for a lot of years. But it's just, sometimes you just really have to start with something that's small, so you can, feel pride with yourself that you're like, wow, I actually made my bed every day. I liked going to my bedroom and seeing my bed made, just little bitty things like that just small, and it's not too small. Nothing is too small.
No, nothing at all is too small. When you're trying to gain confidence and you're not used to having confidence, you'd be amazed at how little it takes. You do have to do it, but just do little things. Just like Theresa said, perfect example. If you're going to start off walking and you don't usually walk, you usually, sit at your breakfast table, then you sit in your car, then you sit in your office, then you sit in your car, then you sit at a restaurant, then you sit on your couch and watch television. You're sitting all day. Horrible for your health. So you decide you're just going to get up and you're going to walk. I'm just going to walk 5 minutes. I'm going to get up, go outside, and walk 5 minutes outside and come back in. That's great. 5 minutes every single day. Then a week later, I bet I could do 10 minutes. And what you find is at first you think, well, I don't have the time to do that, so you start walking. But what you find is, as you start walking, you find other things that you can do. While I'm walking, I could listen to a podcast, or I could listen to a book, or I could sit here and be calm and just have my own thoughts and appreciate nature. And it's a way of calming yourself down. I can be out in the sun and get vitamin D. I can get all the ultraviolet rays that I need to be getting from the sun. You start appreciating more things that you can do by these goals that you're doing, these things that you're doing that are good for you. And when you know they're good for you and you know where they're heading your health, it's going to help you keep on track. So make your daily choices, whatever you're going to do, make them very, very small. Do not think that it's too small. Oh, that's too small. I'm going to walk for 2 minutes. That's nothing. That is something. It's getting you out. It's getting you moving. It's getting you, and then you just track it and adjust as you want. Don't adjust too fast, because you're going to fall right in. You're going to start thinking that you're doing great, and then all of a sudden you're going to want to jump. And then when you jump, you're going to slip, you're going to fall, and now you've got to go all the way back, and hopefully you can pick yourself back up again. So just keep your increments small. You'll know the main thing you're trying to do is work every day towards a lofty goal that you really have. Lose your weight, get off medication, stay out of the medical field. You're getting good sleep, you're exercising, you're getting the sun, you're eating healthy. I mean, these are all things that will significantly change your life, improve your life, improve the quality of your life. And really, that's all we want. We want you to have an improved quality of life, and we want you to love yourself. We want you to be very happy with where you are. And it's going to be much easier to love yourself if you are where you want to be. If you're where you want to be physically, you're where you want to be mentally. Any goals you have, you're actually working towards them every single day. That's how you're going to love yourself. That's how you're going to gain confidence. If you don't do that, you're just going to sit here and think negatively about yourself. Does no one good. Definitely does not do you good, and doesn't do anyone around you any good either.
Right. And then just like we're talking about the walking, that is also something you can control. So you also want to focus on what you can personally control in your life. There are just some things that are going to happen that are out of your control. Just focus on what you can control. Maybe your child is, sick, and now you have to call into work and you're staying at home today, which has totally messed up your whole plan. Well, just focus on what you can control with that. Maybe you're just going to march in place, stand in front of the TV if they're sick and they're napping or something like that. But I know, or just talking on the phone, pacing, you can get your walking in that way. So now instead of going outside and walking, now you're inside and you're just walking around your house, which counts as well.
Right.
So,
yeah. You're going to be on the phone anyway. If you're talking to somebody, talking to your mom, talking to a sibling, talking to somebody, if you're talking to somebody, just walk the whole time. You will be amazed at how many steps you get just during a conversation. It's really kind of crazy.
Right. So it just goes back to focus on what you can control, because guaranteed something's going to happen. May not every day, but most days something always happens. Like people are waiting for that perfect time. There is no perfect time. Right now is the perfect time.
And remember, you are in a comfort zone. Chances are you're in a comfort zone, but it may not be as comfortable as you think. If you're listening to this podcast, or you read my book or anything like this, that kind of lets you know maybe you're not as comfortable as you are. Maybe you think you can be more healthy. That's perfectly fine. And that's kind of, you've got to get out of your comfort zone. If you're going to grow anywhere at all, if you're going to do anything, you've got to get out of your comfort zone, because comfort zone just basically means this is what you do every day. This is what you're used to. And that's why you're not fully satisfied right now. And that's why you're listening to this podcast. There's got to be something that you're not quite right with. Figure out what it is, make small steps to go towards that, daily steps. And just like you said, make this a very easy thing. If you try to make it too hard, you are not going to do it. Your brain is going to come out and say, you're right, that's hard. And you're probably going to get hurt doing that. You may even die. You better just stay where you are. Don't be afraid of that. When you start feeling fear with your brain, that's your brain working the way your brain is made to work. Your brain is made to make you feel scared of anything that you don't know. But realize other people have gone through the steps. This is something you just got to figure out how to get it down to bite-sized pieces so you don't scare yourself.
Right. And so, and I don't know if you just said this, but just disliking your life. Do you dislike your life? Do you love your life? Maybe you do love your life. Then you don't have to continue listening.
That's right.
You should.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. But that's one of the things, like whenever we talk to people about like how we try to help them to lose weight, and they're like, oh, I really want to lose weight. I keep trying, but I can't, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, what are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to not eat out for maybe 3 months to kind of get into the swing of things? We're not saying you have to not eat out ever again, but it's like, can you sacrifice that? Can you sacrifice going to bed a little bit earlier than you used to, so you could maybe get up earlier to go for that morning walk?
Because don't sacrifice sleep. That's the last thing you want to last. Everybody needs at least
So if you're going
6 to 10 hours of sleep, something 7 to 9.
So if you're going to get up earlier, well, you need to go to bed earlier. And that's another tiny step. It's like, so you can't be going to bed at midnight and then be like, okay, I'm going to start going to bed at 10. That's not going to work. Your body is used to the other. So you're just going to take tiny steps, go to bed 15 minutes earlier, maybe for a week, It does take a little bit of time, but what you want is the success at the end and the confidence at the end that you can do this. Time's going to pass no matter what. And you don't want to be back where you were last year because you didn't do something because you felt like it was too small of a goal
And
or
that
too small of a step.
and that's it. If you seriously don't want to sacrifice your comfort, then maybe your goal is not really a goal of yours. Maybe you'd like to lose weight, you'd like to be off medications, you'd like to not have high blood pressure or type 2 diabetes anymore. You'd like that, but you really love your life the way it is. That's fine. That's your choice. Just don't get mad at yourself thinking, "Oh, I really want this," and not do anything towards it, because that's just gonna make you more mad at yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a goal and you're not doing anything towards it, maybe you need to find your why. Is that really your goal? Is there a deeper goal? And we've talked about this in past podcasts also, making the commitment and knowing your why. But it is so important for you to realize, if you think losing weight, getting healthy, getting off medication, staying out of the medical field, if you think that is where you want your future, then we can help you. We know what to do. And that's what the book's for. That's what the podcast's for. And that's what our digital course is for, is to help you actually learn exactly how you can get healthy.
And I think one thing we don't realize is this is our brain being fearful. Even though we're just trying to lose weight, it's still being fearful. You're having to do new things. Well, it's comfortable. Well, we don't want to go to bed earlier. It's just another form of fear, don't you
Yeah.
think?
Oh, without a doubt.
So it's like,
And,
so until you do the things, just slowly do these things and start building up confidence, your brain doesn't want you to do those things. And so until you do it, you're still fearful. So just think about that. It's like our brains, I guess I'm using comfort and fear together.
Well, the main thing is your brains are going to be the most afraid right before you have your big breakthrough. If you've been going, you've been walking a little bit, you've been checking your eating, and all of a sudden you've been doing enough to where now you enjoy the walks, they're getting longer, you're enjoying what you're eating, and all of a sudden something happens and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I can do this." And then part of your brain says, "No, you cannot." And be aware that your brain is doing that. That's not true, but your brain, or this is when a lot of people, they're eating healthy, they've started a little walking program, and their weight's coming down, and all of a sudden they plateau. They stop losing the weight. I've talked about this in past podcasts. That is perfectly normal. That's how your body is. That's a great thing. That means your body is resetting its body weight set point. Your body used to be used to a weight up here. Now you're losing weight. You've plateaued. So your body's resetting its body weight set point. So now it's like, no, now this is your average weight. But instead of people thinking about it that way and being happy, it's like, yes, I'm in the plateau phase. I'm resetting my body weight set point down. You should be happy about that, because it's going to start going down again, because you're doing the same thing. You're eating healthy. Your body will start losing the weight again. But what most people do is they see the decrease, then they reach that plateau, and that's the time that their old brain can come back to them and say, "Ha, see, told you couldn't do it. You thought you could for a little bit, but you're not going to. You're going to gain weight again." And that's usually when people do stop. Once they hit that plateau, they think, "I can't do it anymore. Whatever my body is, it's used to it, and it just isn't going to work." And that's when they get upset. That's when they get mad at themselves. That's when they quit. And when you quit and you start gaining the weight back and even more, now you're even more mad at yourself than you were the first time. So having the knowledge of realizing this is going to happen will help you when you get that plateau phase. Think of it differently. Yes, I'm resetting my body weight set point down. I'll just wait here until my body's used to it, and it's going to start going down again, because it will when you give your body nourishment. That's the way our bodies are built. Feed your body the right nourishment, and it will use your own body fat for its energy source like it's supposed to. So the fat will come off for you. The meds will come off. Doctor's visits will come off. You're going to feel so great, so happy about yourself. And that's what we want you. We want you to be happy with yourself when you see that you can actually do this.
Right. So, what we want you to take away from this is to start building your confidence in tiny little steps. And that's what's going to do it. And just keep on going. keep tracking. Don't stop the tracking because you need to see over time. You need to see over a year. Maybe you should be tracking over a year because we've gone through times where we quit tracking and it's just like, and we can tell,
Yeah.
we can totally tell that we haven't been tracking because now we're feeling discouraged, maybe putting on some weight, not walking as much. I mean, I know I've definitely not been working out as much as what I would like to. So, and I haven't been tracking. And so that's what I'm going to start doing. So that's what it just takes time, and just realize, just keep at it.
Right. Don't stop because you're afraid. Don't stop because of the fear. Let that fear be something that you do in spite of. You're going to meet your goal in spite of the fear. It's just like anybody. You can't be people who have, they say, are courageous. Oh, you were so courageous. You didn't have any fear when you did that. It's like, oh, I had a lot of fear, but you do it anyway. That's what makes it courageous. If there's no fear, there's no courage. It doesn't even make sense. If there's no fear, then anybody could do it. It's doing that fearful thing that gives you the courage, gives you the sense of well-being. That's what you, so don't not do it because you're afraid. Do it even though you're afraid, and you're going to feel so much better. And the best way to find out if you're committed to your goal is to say, are you committed to your tracking? Because it's very easy to look back at somebody says, oh yeah, I track my steps every day. And then you look back and they've only tracked, a few weeks out of the last several months. If you're not even committed to tracking it, you're definitely not going to be committed to your goal. So if you need something to be committed to tracking the data. Just be committed to that. And when you look back over a month and you look back at all the times that you actually got out there and worked, I guarantee you're going to feel so much better about yourself when you realize you're tracking. Even if you only did it 3 times one week, who cares? Because you're still doing it, and you will do more. Because without a doubt, your actions are your proof to yourself that you are committed. And that's what you want to do. Prove to yourself that you're committed. Prove to yourself that your goal is lofty enough and has a very big reason why you want to continue, why you want to collect the data, why you want to track it, and why you want to change your life for the better.
Yeah, I think that's a
Do
good
you have
way
anything else?
No, I think that's a good way to wrap it up.
Okay. Well, that's all we have for today. I hope this helps somebody. Please get out there. If you're not walking, walk. If you're not tracking your walks, track your walks. Track what you eat. Whatever it is that you're wanting to do, get out there, track it, and keep with it. Don't get discouraged. You know that there are going to be times that you're going to fall off the wagon. That's fine. That's normal. That's human. Just get right back on again and complete your goals to feel good about yourself. So as always, have a wonderful week, and thank you so much for listening, and always make simple, healthy choices to live a quality life.